On this show of St. Louis in Tune, we're going to return to civility as we always do. In studio is DeGennaro Jones, DJ, artist, muralist, just all-around wonderful guy. We're going to talk about Nike or the word of the day, and if we have some time, we'll get humorous. Greetings, listeners in Listenerland. Welcome to St. Louis in Tune with Arnold Stricker and Mark Langston, where we size up current and historic events involving people, places, and things in areas such as the arts, crime, education, employment, faith, finance, food, government, health, history, housing, humor, justice, and sports. We come from the Gateway City, and we try to connect to what's going on regionally, nationally, and internationally. Mark Langston, welcome back to the studio, sir.
It's great to be back. It's great to be anywhere at my age. That's right.
Just not in the ground.
Oh my goodness! You shouldn't even say those things. Don't give anything an idea.
Don't give anything away now.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
So return to civility, folks. At a party or networking function, the keyword networking. Make an effort to speak with people you don't know. Isn't that the purpose of a networking function anyway? Is to speak to people that you don't know. But sometimes people have to be reminded to do that. They might be new to the group and might turn out to be the most interesting person you've ever met. Have you met an interesting person in a networking function or a party like that?
Yeah, I have. And I'm the guy that will go up and say hi to you. It makes me crazy. When I look at these little groups of people, they're just standing there, they're over in the corner, and I just go up and go, hey, I'm the weird guy. With DJ's nodding his head.
Hey, that's absolutely right.
Yeah. You got to jump in once in a while, don't you?
Break the monotony.
Yeah.
That's how DJ and I met.
Yeah.
Is that right?
We were talking at an art show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I always lead with my name. Hi, I'm Mark Langston.
Best way to do it.
KXOK or whatever. But a lot of people just go, hey, how you doing? It's no. And another thing that drives me crazy when people call me and they go, is this Mark? I go, who are you?
Yeah.
Are you a bill collector?
Yeah, who wants to know?
Yeah. Tell me who you are first. Okay, go ahead.
Do you put the name tag on your right?
I put it on
the left side.
On the right side.
Yes, and explain why. Because there's a reason for that.
Yeah, because you extend your hand to shake someone's hand.
And they look right up your arm.
Yeah,
onto
right
the
up
name
your
tag.
looking right up your arm.
What are you?
I know. So that's you're supposed to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Or that's a sneaky thing you're supposed to know.
Sneaky thing.
Okay.
Our guest in studio is no stranger. Matter of fact, as I said, we met at a function and got talking and have seen his art. He actually is a St. Louis native. DeGennaro Jones is an artist, and he started out doing clothing. We're going to get into that background. We've had a conversation already before with Brian Laughlin from Selkirk's on Arlene Creates, and it was Arlene Rosengarten. Right. And we had a previous conversation, so folks, if you want to check that one out, stlintune.com. But DJ, welcome back to the studio.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Man, what can we say? The humidity is upon us here in St. Louis.
Oh.
So it's been brutal.
I think DJ was talking earlier about making our studio a science project so we could figure out how to cool it down. There is things growing on the wall, DJ.
Oh,
I don't
man.
know what those are. Yeah, don't get too close to that green goo. Don't get too close to the green goo on the wall.
Touch it. Yeah.
Okay.
So give people a little refresher about your background. You're a native St. Louisan, and you've not always been an paint artist.
No, I started painting in 2005. I used to own a clothing store, and I like to tell people I got tired of people coming to the store and not buying anything. So I said I got to do something to keep from wasting my time. So I started painting, but I've been a fan of art since I was 18 years old and involved in a manager leadership development group called St. Paul Saturdays. And in fact, my mentor, Dr. William J. Harrison, who was Dean of Instruction when he passed at Forest Park, he started this organization called St. Paul Saturdays, a manhood leadership development group. He was a Morehouse graduate, and he also taught us about business in terms of how to navigate through this white supremacist things that were going on back when I was coming.
And sometimes that still exists today.
Oh, very.
We'll get into that.
So
So what's the biggest lesson you learned from him?
Hey, man, his thing was building men is better than mending boys.
Mm-hmm. That sounds familiar.
And Frederick Douglass, and he was a really giant of a human being, and we went every month to the art museum because he was one of the first black trustees.
Wow.
And so I had a really huge appetite for art when I got older. And so what I did was say, you know what, I'm just going to return from really what I've always had an affinity for. Mm-hmm. So I just started being what I call a practitioner of art, started painting in 2005. But I've always been around, been exposed, been going to different art talks and different things. But and since then, I've done the mural project, as you know, with Washington University, and working along with the Griot Museum on St. Louis Avenue and other institutions now. So
you've had displays out at the Ethical Society.
Yeah, I had a very nice show at the Ethical Society back in this past April. Went very well. Showing in a very historic building, the Harris Armstrong. You can't beat that. Built in '56.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm having a very good moment, but I need the sales and I need the institutions to support the work so that I can bring other artists along with me. It's not a matter of waiting till you get famous and all this money. You can start wherever you're at. And that's what Frederick Douglass and Booker T. Washington was talking about.
And when you mentioned that, the project that was done at Washington University was something that you had mentees that you had been working with, and they helped with that project. So it sounds like you've been, my words now, you've adopted the philosophy that you need to give back and help out. Yeah. Let's talk about that mural project because we're going to get into this in detail. This was the mural project at Washington University, and was that 22 or 32 panels?
It was 32 panels. We did them in 8 days.
Which
They're
is
6
crazy.
feet tall. 6 feet tall. Right at the height of COVID. They didn't even know what COVID was about, anything. We accepted the call, and I'm glad the guys, because by me having that heart surgery, it would have been brutal on me. And the weather was over 100 degrees while we were working.
And it's located where?
In the South 40 underpass.
Okay, so you're going from the dormitories south, what is that, Forsyth?
Forsyth. It goes underneath Forsyth. Right. And it's right there at Olympian Way in Forsyth, to be exact. On the mural, we had an image of Chadwick Boseman, painted by Brock Seals. At the time, he had passed while we were up there working. Brock wanted to put, because Black Panther was such a big deal at the time and still is. And so we did something to memorialize him. And then to the left of him was George Pogue, the first African American to receive a Olympic medal. It was a bronze medal, but it was the first time that African American had received a medal. And he went on to coach track at Sumner, I believe.
Yeah, matter of fact, I want to interrupt you for a second because this is a really important moment, what DJ's talking about, George Pogue. He was the salutatorian of his class, and this was up in
University of
Wisconsin.
Yeah.
He was the first black athlete to win a race in the Big Ten Conference Track Championship, graduated with a degree in history. He traveled to St. Louis when he was 23, and as DJ was saying, became the first black American to win an Olympic medal. And what's fascinating about this, he didn't medal in the 60-meter dash or the 400-meter, but he placed third in the 200 meters and the 400 meters. And following that, he became a high school principal and a teacher at Sumner High School.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, he retired in 1953 and died in 1962.
In Hannibal.
So that's pretty historic. And 1904, right there, right down the street.
St. Louis housed the first Olympic in the United States. Thanks to David R. Francis and his connections. And right now, I just was looking on Channel 9. They just did a thing with Harry Weber. He just unveiled a statue of David R. Francis in Francis Park on the South Side. Now, David R. Francis is responsible for us to having fresh water, because at the time of the 1904 World's Fair, the water was filthy, and so he said, "No, we can't show off St. Louis like this." So he's the one that's responsible for them putting the,
Interesting.
yeah.
Wow.
And
So-
then now we're talking about water issues now. The 44% increase,
Right.
they're passing this, so
Right.
it's
Yeah.
It's all
interesting.
coming full circle.
Yeah.
I interrupted you there. So keep going with the mural.
So the mural. So then George Poe, and then we had John Lewis, that was painted by Danny McGinnis. Also painted George Poe. Danny McGinnis is an artist that got chose to go to San Francisco Art Institute. So he's still out there working, and he did John Lewis. John Lewis had just spoken at Washington University, I think a year before we got up there or something. But as John Lewis, friends, contemporary of Dr. King and all that. And then we had a quote that Brock Seals painted with James Baldwin on there.
That's a great quote.
We tried to represent on a world scale.
That quote, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced.
That's right.
Wow.
James Baldwin. Brock Seals passionately painted that up. And then the image on the side of that is Brock Seals' rendition of Matisse Le Dance. And yeah, so it's we making a lot of historical referencing at the same time. So that's why I say we didn't call it a Black History mural. We sharper than that. And then on the other panel, we have Roland very passionately painted a young black man with the flag, and then the lady with the chakras, and then I do my abstraction along with Homer G. Phillips is in there. A 91-year-old professor, Dr. Robert L. Williams, he had passed while we were working on the mural. Came out with this thing called the bitch test, and he also is responsible for coining the phrase ebonics.
He was a WashU professor.
WashU professor. He's 91 years old when he passed. And so we had an image of him. We had Homer G. Phillips, the attorney that was murdered, that never lived to see Homer G. Phillips being built. He's on there. Annie Malone is on there.
Right.
We had an image of an Asian person because we tried to show some diversity. And we also had another person I can't think right now. Oh, Damon Addison's a female with the afro. It's like an Afrofuturism type of thing, representing the future and the beyond. So we had a cadre of different vibes and styles.
You were showing a lot of history of St. Louis and people who impacted what was going on here in St.
Yeah.
So is the mural still there?
The mural has been painted over.
Aw.
Yeah, so
Now we're going to get, this is another part of the story.
What?
Yeah, and you got done with your mural when, DJ?
we got done with the mural in let's see, it took us 8 days, so we were done with it.
What month and year?
Oh, that was in September
of 2020.
20.
Okay.
And they painted over it?
Okay. There's another story here. So this is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston of St. Louis in Tune. You're listening to DeJaneiro Jones talking about the mural work that was done at Washington University in the what's called the South 40 underpass on the Danforth campus, which he did with a group of other local artists that he was mentoring. And come along, let's see, it's December.
You have pictures of these,
Oh,
of
yeah.
the mural, I hope. I haven't seen them.
Yeah. He has a book called The Never Ending Story, which details photographs of the mural. And folks, if you want to get that, The Never Ending Story, check that out. But there was in December of 2021, an individual and other individuals went into the tunnel and defaced I'm not quite sure exactly what they did, but they spray painted, they stenciled some things, and they were actually a white supremacist group. They've been linked to a white supremacist group, and they had done this to several black artists and murals around the United States. And this particular group's called the Patriot Front, and it's another hate group that's out there.
So they found him. They did find the perpetrators?
They did after a lot of, I would say, detective and investigative work. And
Good.
not only from the WashU detectives and police department and maybe St. Louis County, but there was outside groups that really assisted and really got a lot of good information and handed that over. So I will turn the story now over to you as you found out about the mural.
So I get a call. I go to a lot of estate sales. I get a call. I'm at an estate sale in Kirkwood. The lady that represents the department that hired us to do the mural, she calls. I have some terrible news. They've just defaced the mural. I said, what? He said, yes. The students have just called and said that they've defaced the mural. I said, is it what kind of defacement? I didn't know what to expect. So anyway, I leave the estate sale and head over to the university. Get there. As soon as I get there, the news media is already there. I was like, oh boy.
All right.
So I walk up and I asked, I don't even know what reporter that was. He was saying that, hey, it looks like that the students were already here and they took some other stuff was already on there. But on the news, you only seen this part. But it was some more. It was some stencil that you were talking about. But see, the world didn't see that because some students had went back to the dormitory and got some fingernail polish remover and took off the other stuff that they put on there. So it was worse than what just the white facing of it.
Oh, my.
And that's one part. The other part is that the students did a story, an expose, and asked the university, why did y'all keep the guy's identity hidden? Now, Mitchell Wagner got turned in by whoever his employer was. That's how they found out about it. But we also faced defacement while we were up there working, but I didn't want to talk about that to overshadow while we were up there. But we had some defacement going on from the students.
Really?
Really?
Yeah, before we got done with the mural. So what I did was I called and told them that, hey, they got to come get this off the ground. We're not finna work with this on the ground like this. And we would go have lunch and come back, say, wait a minute, somebody been in our paints. And man, these paints are very expensive. So we went to Art Mart and Blick, and that's some of the defacement still left on the sidewalk. So this was going on before. This book is about the defacement before the defacement. I haven't done the book about the defacement.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, who knows how far this? So
Maybe you need a part two.
Oh, my.
I'm thinking about.
That's why we're doing this interview. One
Yeah.
reason.
Yeah, I'm glad to be a part of it because.
So you find out about it. You go down there. That some of it had been like they'd taken like rollers and rolled white over names or faces and things like that. And then there was stenciled on were the initials of this particular group, which is their trademark.
The trademark. And so they went on tour doing this.
Oh, my.
Yeah.
Then they left St. Louis after they did our thing, and they went to Idaho. Did you run across that?
No.
See, they left St. Louis, and he talked about that in the article,
Okay.
that they went to Idaho and did some things.
Golly.
So you come back. Matter of fact, that particular individual, and I'm not even going to say his name,
Yeah.
but this happened December 18th of 2021. It was property damage in the first degree. This coming July 21st, 2023, there's going to be a settlement conference in St. Louis County Circuit Court. And a settlement conference is, I guess you sit down, what do you want to do? This is what we're going to do. And
Put 'em
rather
in
than
j-
the judge go, this is what we're going to give you.
Put them in jail. But I'll tell you, that's what you should.
And again, it's understanding
What is
that
there to talk about?
this is not the only mural or mural accomplished by black artists that has been defaced across the nation. There's a pattern of behavior here, not only from this group, but from just other individuals. So as you find out about this, and what happens after that?
And so the Southern Poverty Law Center reaches out to me. And they said, well, that's terrible about what happened to you. I'm like, yeah, you're right, but unfortunately, what can I say? I'm thinking the university is, we paid you guys for doing the work. Nobody got hurt. And I believe the guy name is Chris King. He's a spokesperson for the prosecuting attorney's office or something like that. So I thought that the case was going to be in Kimberly Gardner's. It's interesting, and then you'll learn something too, Mark, is that where Washington University sits, because of where it sits, the case was in St. Louis County rather than St. Louis City.
Yeah.
So I wonder what kind of justice would I probably have gotten if Kimberly Gardner would have done it.
Right.
Now, I did see and notice that a lot of the people that represent the NAACP and Urban League, and they went out, but nobody has reached out to us and asked us, say, hey, do you need anything in terms of what kind of inroads that they can provide in terms of bringing the conversation to a broader audience? We've had a book signing at the university that went very well, but we need some acquisitions going on to keep the artistry going, because art supplies are very expensive, and people don't give you supplies because you're a nice artist. It just don't happen like that. you probably do paint nice, but
Right.
you're responsible for your own.
One of the things I think even before that, and I want to come back to what you just said about, because that's another portion of the interview that I want to do, is and I don't want to step on people's toes here, but the response from Washington University as to cleaning up the mural and re-putting it back up.
It wasn't supposed to be permanent.
Now, did they tell you that ahead of time?
No. It was not meant to be permanent, but because of COVID was going on, it was kind of like passing a hot potato. Okay, one person said, this is what we're going to do, and then the ball got dropped and somebody else left that department. Then somebody was pregnant. They went on maternity leave and it went somebody else's hand. It was just, I was so thankful to have the book signing.
Yeah. Why did they decide that it wasn't going to be permanent?
I think because of the Greek Pan-Hellenic type of, I think that's what they used that tunnel for.
Okay.
It's been there since the 50s. I'm not sure. It's a good
Why did they
question.
want to do it to begin with, then,
Yeah.
if they didn't want it to be permanent?
It's a conversation for the public art. Leslie Markle, maybe. He's the.
Most murals are on sides of buildings.
At one point, they were talking about detaching it from the wall and spreading them around the university campus.
So they were on canvases, or were they on canvases then, or
No.
or just on the wall?
Just a wall.
Okay.
Yeah, but they're panels underneath the tunnel, but they can be disassembled. We found out.
Okay.
And they were going to take them down and spread them around different points of the university, but it never happened.
Let's find out a little bit more about this. We're going to come back after our break and get a little bit more information about the never-ending story.
Yeah.
And it is true. And the name of the book is true. But we'll be back for our next segment. You're listening to St. Louis in Tune with Arnold Stricker and Mark Langston on the U.S. Radio Network. This is Arnold Stricker of St. Louis in Tune on behalf of the Dred Scott Heritage Foundation. In 1857, the Dred Scott decision was a major legal event and catalyst that contributed to the Civil War. The decision declared that Dred Scott could not be free because he was not a citizen. The 14th Amendment, also called the Dred Scott Amendment, granted citizenship to all born or naturalized here in our country and was intended to overturn the U.S. Supreme Court decision on July 9, 1868. The Dred Scott Heritage Foundation is requesting a commemorative stamp to be issued from the U.S. Postal Service to recognize and remember the heritage of this amendment by issuing a stamp with the likeness of the man Dred Scott. But we need your support and the support of thousands of people who would like to see this happen. To achieve this goal, we ask you to download, sign, and share the one-page petition with others. To find the petition, please go to dredscottlives.org and click on the Dred Scott Petition Drive on the right side of the page. On behalf of the Dred Scott Heritage Foundation, this has been Arnold Stricker of St. Louis in Tune.
At St. Louis in Tune, we strive to bring you informative, useful, and reflective stories, as well as interviews about current and historic issues and events that involve people, places, and things. We cover a wide range of topics, such as the arts, crime, education, employment, faith, finance, food, health, history, housing, humor, justice, and sports, and that's just to name a few. While St. Louis in Tune originates from the Gateway City and covers local topics, we also connect to what's going on nationally as well. If you missed any of our previously aired programs of St. Louis in Tune, simply visit stlintune.com. That's stlintune.com. There you'll find the show notes and everything that was mentioned in that episode and all the other great episodes as well. And if you've got an area that you'd like us to examine deeper, just let us know by dropping us a note at stlintune@gmail.com. That's stlintune@gmail.com. St. Louis in Tune. It's heard Monday through Friday on the USRadioNetwork.com. and many great radio stations around the U.S. and, of course, right here in St. Louis. Our website again is stlintune.com. Visit us today. That's stlintune.com. Oh, yeah. Hurt me now. Oh, let it go a little longer.
It's on a loop. Welcome back to St. Louis in Tune. This is Arnold Stricker with Mark Langston. We have DeGennaro Jones in studio, DJ, and a little bit about him. His work examines history, color selection, and placement, dealing with social and economic perils of society, along with daily lives and the reality of life in the United States and how the rest of the world views us. You can check his studio out at openstudios-stl.org, openstudios-stl.org. He has a studio down in the Arcade building. So check that out. We've been talking about the mural that was done at Washington University in the, I would call it the underpass.
Yeah. South 40 underpass.
South 40 underpass on the Danforth campus, and that 32-panel mural that was done by multiple artists, and then it's actually documented in the Never-Ending Story that DJ put together with some photography by Nicholas Coulter. That's a book you should check out, folks. But then we got into that the mural had been defaced by a white supremacist group, by a group that I really don't even want to talk about them, a white nationalist group called the Patriot Front. And this particular individual was caught and charged with first-degree property damage. He has a settlement conference happening July the 21st, 2023 at the St. Louis County Courthouse. And we were, before the break, DJ, we were talking about whether the mural was permanent or whether it was going to be temporary. But I didn't think you ever thought it would be painted over like it is today, or did you?
We didn't really get any official way of unveiling the thing. I would have liked to have the chancellor take some pictures and a nice little rip because it was so powerful, and I was trying to bring so much prominence to the fact, for one, about the Olympic thing with George Pope. That was the first thing, because in the proximity of where the mural sits to where Francis Field is at.
Right.
And so then we found out when they did the mural, when they asked us, say, what do you guys want the university to do? And I said, it would be nice if they was to let us to have an exhibition at the university. The
Right.
Kemper Museum is there.
Right.
Why not? If our work is good enough to be seen outside, certainly it's good enough to be inside.
Right.
So I thought that a lot of the art institutions would step up and try to say, you know what, let's give these guys a show. And so far, 2 organizations come to mind that have really been there since things have happened to us dealing with this mural. And one is the Griot Museum on St. Louis Avenue, Lois Conley. And also I've been working for years with Mr. Robert Powell of Portfolio Gallery.
Okay.
And then I have a relationship with McCowan Burr, with Scott Kerr, Sarah, his daughter. And so a lot of us are represented by McCowan Burr. Roland Burrow, Brock Seals,
Okay.
and Nicholas Coulter does the photography documentation. Damon Addison was also one of the artists. It was a brilliant artist in his own right. And then we have Danny McGinnis, who's still in San Francisco, that got a full-ride scholarship at San Francisco Art Institute, referenced by Kehinde Wiley. So we had an all-star cast in terms of talent. They were already established.
Right.
But because of where we are in St. Louis and the subject's dealing with race, people don't care about it. Like I said, I guess the university position was like nobody was hurt. What are you guys upset about? We paid you. Best of luck.
See ya
Don't
later.
let the door hit you on the way out.
Yeah. Exit stage left. Best of luck, guys. We'll be pulling for you.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Don't call us.
And here I am talking to y'all about
Yeah.
it. So I'm not crying. I'm still moving forward, but
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it. I'm like, damn. Does
Yeah.
the university want to be on the wrong side of history? So,
No, I don't think they do. I think communication about things is very important.
yeah.
And making sure everybody understands what the expectation is.
Yeah.
And why the mural to begin with. Why are we doing this to begin with? Okay, what are we going to do when it's done? And
Yeah.
I think COVID just blew a lot of people's brains out of their head if they had any to begin with.
Yeah.
And we see that evidence in society today still. But having that kind of understanding would have relieved a lot of stress and angst and disappointment. And here we go again. kind
Well,
of
and
stuff.
all the folks that you put on that mural are important people with not only our community, but the African American community, and it's a learning.
Mark, we had so many people that was coming through. The employees was proud when we were up there painting it. They were talking about it. They had moments. I got video of the security guard. She's a female. Was crying.
Oh,
because she would travel, and that's her route when she go all over. And she's seen this, so different people had different effects when it happened. And we had so many young students come up there with their dogs, and they have these moments up there.
who are these people?
That was just,
I know.
Yeah. So
It's history.
you try to bring something nice to St. Louis, but they don't support their own. They always import somebody from somewhere else.
You mentioned something in an article.
Too much truth to that.
Yeah.
There really is. There's too much
People
truth.
right here starved to death.
Yeah,
Somebody
right.
else they roll a red
Right.
carpet out
Yeah.
for.
Yeah, that's a whole nother show. There's
Yeah.
so much truth to what you just said. Okay. Yeah.
And I want to get into this because we don't talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something in an article that talked about St. Louis is the gateway of institutionalized racism.
Absolutely.
And there's another statement that dealt with racial tokenization and bias in the art world. Explain those things for people who are like, maybe they're shaking their heads right now, or they're like, I don't understand this. And people, if you're listening here, we have to have the conversation.
Yeah.
Okay? So talk about those, DJ.
Yeah. Institutional racism was dealing with, and this is nothing I came up with. This is something that's been going on a long time. Gerrymander. So many different things. We can talk about real estate. We can talk about it's economics. It's a plethora of things. But St. Louis being a swing state, and we having the Missouri Compromise, and we having these Jim Crow and all of this culmination of things that's going on. But the cost of living here is cheap compared to other cities. So that's why a lot of people end up staying and making a career, but they don't get paid what they really do.
Mm-hmm.
But you can have a very nice life in St. Louis. But in terms of being a black person and navigating through this town, it's tough. It's tough. But people like you guys, I'm still optimistic about it. But in terms of are we making progress? No, in fact, I think we're going backwards a little bit, because only time that black people are really looked at as being in the room is Black History Month. Mm-hmm. Now they've added on Juneteenth.
Mm-hmm.
If something is like cliche or something, people will gravitate toward it,
mm-hmm.
and it won't really go any.
Now, you mentioned that you thought we were going backwards. Why do you think that?
Oh, I think so.
I
agree with them.
Yeah, I
do.
think you the city-county thing.
Right.
People got this bad idea about downtown. The people downtown are not doing the crime. It's people that don't stay down there, that come down and use the downtown as their playground.
Some of them that are coming from the county.
And I'm talking about folks that live in St. Charles, all over,
Jefferson
come down
County,
there. Yeah, they come
Lincoln
down
County.
and do their little thing and head on back home.
And you and I can say that. We live downtown.
Live downtown. Been staying downtown. So I stayed on both ends, on the west and the central corridor.
Mm-hmm.
First they tried to blame Larry Rice. He's been gone.
Yeah.
See?
Right.
Now it's the Airbnb situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they think that, now don't get me wrong,
Here it goes.
them, what do you call them, recreation centers?
Yeah.
These kids not into that.
No.
That's
they are
a
not.
thing of the past.
Yeah, that's our generation.
And if you go visit any of them in the city of St. Louis, they look terrible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They need to tear every last one of them down and build some brand new ones and make it look like they do out there in West County for the other people. That stuff been like that since the 40s, man.
It's just like what happened to the recreation center that was supposed to happen with Jamestown Mall and all that stuff up there.
I think Congresswoman Hazel Irby, I think she was really adamant about trying to get that thing going. And
that was part of that RAM settlement
thing.
Yeah. So where
that
is that?
$270 million is just sitting somewhere parked.
Yeah.
And they tell me from listening on Donnybrook that this is the first year that it's starting to gain some interest on it. So all that time that it could have been probably gained about $5 million a year interest. And this is the first year that they, so I just found that out on Donnybrook.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started.
Yeah.
So the phrase about the marginalization of black artists, how is that happening? Because people will say, oh, Kehinde Wiley. But like you just said earlier, we throw one thing up, oh, Juneteenth, or oh, now we have Black History Month. And is that kind of the similar kinds of thing? Yeah,
it's like I say, it's who's in, and it's like trendy.
Mm-hmm.
It's whatever's trending right now.
What would you like to see?
I would like to see more black artists having ownership on the business side of owning galleries. There are no black-owned art galleries in the city of St. Louis.
Oh my!
Now, there's what is it? The 14th Street Gallery?
Black-owned.
It's not black-owned. It's white-owned, but there's a ton of black artists up there.
Yeah, but people don't go in there and patronize them.
I've been up there. We've patronized.
I'm talking about the art.
Yeah.
Art.
Yeah.
You bought art in there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
There's some good art up there.
I know it. I know the seeds of it.
Yeah.
But
wall to wall.
Wall to wall. Yeah. And I know Peter Sparks. He's
Okay.
the owner of 14th Street. He's been there a long time.
Yep. He's given an opportunity to a lot of artists.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has. And then he don't charge him. He don't charge him anything.
Oh.
But I would say more ownership. We need some kind of ownership in terms of trying to build in some generational wealth.
Do you think an individual grouping of that, or an individual doing that, or a grouping of artists together who combine some things?
I think you need a collective.
Okay.
I think you need like a consortium. some degree or something like that.
I agree. Yeah.
We need some of these people that went to Harvard Business School,
Coordinated effort, you know.
and that's the only way. Especially if you're talking about artists need to know about housing. Now, don't get me wrong, RAC has a program. Different people got their own programs going, but I think more grassroots things need to be in place first.
And there's like 10th Street Gallery, but they've been closed for a long time, really since prior to COVID.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Solomon and Pat Thurman. So that's a salon now.
is it really?
Yeah, but they're still going to be they're still in the game in terms of.
Well, and he's been doing that a long time.
Oh yeah.
And
yeah.
Pat, she's a great businesswoman.
Both of them, you know.
Yeah.
Both of them extraordinary people. I've been knowing them my whole career in painting. And their son Lance, he's a photographer.
So if you're going to give advice to the St. Louis community, let's hear it. And then I want you to give advice to budding artists. Okay, so what should the St. Louis community do to support black artists in general? And then what advice do you have for young budding artists?
I think the young budding artist, I'm going to answer the budding artists first.
Okay.
The young budding artists need to have more worth ethic, better worth ethic than they probably have. Nobody will support you if you don't have a product made. So I tell artists all the time, where's your body of work? I'm an artist. I can't see it in your mind. What have you produced? And then they go on to say, I can't get them supplies. I said, when I first started off, I got my supplies from the clearance section. And I experimented and explored with colors that I didn't like, just so I can get in the habit of working. Then I said, let me learn how to start mixing colors. And eventually, I started mixing colors, and then I got the colors that I did want, and then I started going a little further. I said, well, let me start investing in what it takes for me to bring my whole thing into fruition. So artists need to know that they are responsible for their own development. And you got to bet on yourself. And, nobody's responsible for you producing the work, you know what I'm saying? You got to produce the work, and then people will see what's going on. But if you got it up in your mind, we can't do nothing with that.
Do young artists take, my words, criticism or advice?
It depends on who you're talking to. We all had to learn. And not no one person know it all. And so when you think that you know it all, that's when you're at your dumbest point. The artists that I come in contact with, for the most part, they're mature enough to know that if I'm telling them something, it's not to talk down to them, but it's to make them step their game up, and it's working. And so I've been mentoring another artist that works with manufacturing clothes, and so he stopped working at his job at Lids doing embroidery with hats and stuff, and turned his whole apartment into it. So now he's where he was just making maybe $500-600 a week, he's grossing $7-8 grand a month now. So he's his own man. And he's only 24 years old. So these guys, when they get to be my age, I'll be 49 in August. So they'll have some good business acumen.
Right.
And so that's what I'll be trying to instill in them, that art can be a very successful thing if you play it right.
Now speak to the general public out there about
what they can do.
What they can do, right?
People in the public need to purchase art from artists of color, and they need to donate them to institutions, get their write-offs, that whole thing that they do, and hopefully the work gets into rotations. And so these curators and things can have something to pull from. We need more art critics to come to St. Louis to look at work that's in artist studios. They need to be out more and be more accessible. I noticed that when a lot of the black artists come to St. Louis, that the institutions tend to have them where they're not accessible to the public. They don't publicize it enough. They spend very little money with the black publications getting the word out about it. They don't advertise in black communities. Dealing with art, what else they don't do? It's so many things that they don't do. If they were doing it, I wouldn't be sitting there.
That's true. That's true. We'd be talking about something else.
Yeah, it's 2023. We're still talking about race.
One of the interesting things that we have found about the museum that Alice Walton put together down at
Bentonville.
In Bentonville was that there wasn't a black artist section. It was all mixed in
you got to know
with the history. Yeah,
right.
You have to know your art history.
There you go.
Yeah. And then you identify, wow, that's where it should be. It's not in a separate section.
I'm glad to hear you say that. That's what that's where I think it should be.
Yeah.
Mixed in.
Yeah, I was always one of these kids. I was learning before I got to school. You're responsible for your own education. You can sit there and sit back. I got friends. Oh man, see the stuff they weren't teaching us that's in school. Hey, you weren't doing that when you was there anyway.
Yeah, that's so true.
Back then they didn't teach us none of that.
Yeah.
So what have you been doing all the years that you've been out of school?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's all what we do with our time, man.
You are so wise, DJ.
Yeah.
I had some good mentorship, man. I'm telling you.
It's true, though.
I had some people that was very patient with me.
Yeah.
And you listen to them.
Now, you got to be a good listener in life.
Right.
Got to be.
Yeah.
Because it's evidence that you are repeating those things and trying to instill those in other people.
Yeah. And it don't take nothing from me to do that.
No.
Yeah.
It don't take nothing from me.
No. It's such a good lesson. There's so much that I have learned that I never learned in school.
Yeah.
I went out and learned it on my own because I said, this is something I want to know about. You had to go out and do it yourself.
Right.
I'm going to my 30th class reunion in August.
Only 30.
30.
I'm looking at a 40th?
No,
50th.
50th.
Yeah, we're looking at the 50th.
I wish it was 30. Go ahead, DJ.
Yeah. Parkway West.
Yeah, Parkway West.
Longhorn.
Okay.
Yeah. I was part of the DSIG program.
Good deal.
Yeah. I had to go before the congressional hearing, man, to get chose for this school. I'm serious.
Is that right?
We had to fill out paperwork
No.
because where I was raised at, Alpha Gardens, I was supposed to went to Southwest High School. But the gang stuff was going on so terribly back then. You get robbed if you got a pro model caps on and shot. You got the blood and the Crip thing going.
Oh, yeah.
So I ultimately filled out my paperwork to go to Parkway West. My mother thought that I was going to Southwest. She got me up and said, it's time for you to go to school. The bus stop is on the corner. I said, no, I ain't going. My bus stop is on Etzel. She said, what you talking about? I said, I'm going to Parkway West. I'm not going to Southwest. I filled out my own paperwork to get accepted.
Tell us the wrong West.
Yeah, I represented myself like I was my own father.
Good for you, DJ. Good for you.
You took care of yourself.
Yeah, I did. And
That's
my
all right.
grandmother, she drove public transportation. I've always knew how to navigate around.
Right.
And so I was never afraid to go in different neighborhoods and learn and explore things. And
That's good to do.
it paid off. So when I got old enough, I said, you know what? Going to the art museum is not a bad thing. Going to the botanical gardens.
Right.
These free institutions.
Free, right.
Learn as much as you want.
History museum.
Going to the historical society.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember when the synagogue had moved from there
Right.
out there by my high school. So just exploring and living.
We appreciate you coming in and
Yeah, thanks for having
talking
me.
to us, man.
You're an inspiration. I'm telling you what.
Thank you
Jay.
so much.
Yeah.
Speaking of art,
That book. Yeah.
Yeah.
back in 1971, Nike hired a student to create their logo, the Swish, with Nike on it. She was paid $35 for her design.
Aye.
And they made a significant decision to really brand. Sometimes companies go through rebranding. That's been with them since 1971. And the woman's name is Carolyn Davidson. She was a graphic design student at Portland State University. And Phil Knight got in touch with her to create this logo for the company, a real distinctive one. So she was tasked with creating this logo, which was like, this is the essence of our vision. This is what we have to do. And she got that swoosh, very simple. Keep it simple, stupid, the KISS philosophy. So she's compensated $35, but the Nike brand is probably billion-dollar industry.
Over, yeah.
And so recognizing her pivotal role in creating one of the world's most recognizable logos, Nike awarded Carolyn Davidson with stock options in 1983, a gesture that later proved to be extremely valuable. They're not saying what the options were, but this is a testament to when you brand something and design something, or when you are an artist, that you're doing something simple that people can understand what it is. It captivates millions. They see that and they recognize that's that company. Mm-hmm. And we see that in those kinds of designs for companies. Right. And that's why those people are very valuable when they can capture that essence of that like that, and it just becomes this iconic kind of logo.
Wow. It's a great field night.
That's correct.
Beaverton, Oregon, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So here's our word of the day, Mark.
Oh, no. These are never good.
We're trying to do this to help our vocabulary. Okay. So, vacuity.
Say that again.
Vacuity. V-A-C-U-I-T-Y. Now, there's a little hint.
Vacuity.
V-A-C-U. Vacuity.
V-A-C-U. Vacuity.
Sounds a little like
French.
Vacuum. So vacuums do what?
Pull in.
They pick up.
Pull
okay.
in.
Yeah.
So this word means emptiness or an empty space. And sometimes they refer to the vacuity of somebody's mind. So mindless.
Oh.
So it could be emptiness. It's really emptiness and empty space. I know where he's going with this. A mindless kind of thing. So don't.
I know a few politicians that have vacuity.
They have vacuous minds. Or they're just living vacuous lives in Washington, D.C.
Right.
Mindless or empty kinds of things.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I thought that was pretty good.
That is good.
Yeah.
We like that.
So can you tell us who is, you have the days of the day today?
I do have a couple of interesting ones. Let me see if I can find them real quick. He does this to me all the time, DJ. He just throws stuff out at me like that. But it is a couple of interesting ones. It's Decide to Marry Day. It's Decide to Marry Day.
M-A-R-Y or M-A-R-Y?
No. It's Decide to Marry. Let me see what it says about it. Decide to be married is celebrated on today, annually. Getting married is similar to going out to eat with friends. You place an order, then you wish you had ordered what the other person had. I have a saying about...
What?
I know. No, I have a saying about it. I'll be out, and there'll be a really pretty girl on the other table, and I'll say, you can look at the menu, but the prices are too high. Doesn't that make sense?
The prices are too high.
Yeah. My wife would tell you the same thing. You can look at the menu, Mark, but the price is way too high for that.
Keep your eyes on your own menu.
I know. That's right. Keep your eyes on your own menu. Yeah. It's not really working too well for me. National Bingo Day is today.
Bingo.
Yeah. Helen Keller Day is today.
Oh, Helen Keller.
Uh-huh. How about that? I didn't know that. If you know anybody named Jim, it's National Jim Day. Who knew?
Not G-Y-M.
They don't talk about Helen Keller. I haven't heard a reference about Helen Keller in a long...
Yeah.
And Margaret Mead.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's good. Uh-huh. Let's see. I don't think I have too many days, actually, today. There was a couple others, but... National Day of National Unity. How about that? Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. Wouldn't that be nice?
Powerful.
National Marriage Unity Day.
Uh-huh. That's it.
Very timely.
I know. Yeah, that's about...
The Spinks brothers got a star.
They had a star, right, on the U City Walk Hall of
That
Fame.
man Harry Weber.
Yeah,
Oh, is
Harry
that
Weber,
right?
yeah.
Harry Weber, too?
Yeah. He did all the bronzes in front of the
Busch Stadium.
stadiums, right?
Oh, is that right?
Did the Dred and Harriet Scott
Yep.
bronze also in front of the old courthouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're remodeling that now.
Yep.
Hopefully we get some calls from coming in on some projects. Because there's a lot going on. Great Rivers Greenway.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
And so there's a lot of art calls that's going on right now.
I'd like to see him out in the open instead of in a tunnel.
It's public art, so a lot of people seen it. You're
It's a
going
busy
through
tunnel.
it.
It's a busy
like
tunnel.
Like a Metrolink, deal would be good. But
Metrolink has done some art
yeah, they got
along their stops. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
There's a lot of
yeah.
sculpture stuff.
Right.
yeah via public art runs their
Okay.
art part.
So if you wonder who that art guy is, that's DeGennaro Jones.
Yeah.
He's our studio artist in residence.
In residence, yeah.
Yeah. So, Mark, people who think you can't be happy and sad at the same time have never eaten all the cookies in the house at one sitting.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
I went to the gym the other day, and I'm surprised at how winded I was by this exercise. The trainer said this was just the tour of the gym. There's substitutes for a healthy diet. Instead of pasta, zucchini. Instead of chips, carrots. Instead of milk, almond milk. Instead of rice, cauliflower. Instead of butter, sadness. Instead of cheese, nope. Instead of tacos, this is stupid, I'm not doing it. A man asked me for $1. I told him I only carry big bills. He said, well, give me one of those. So I gave him my electric bill.
Oh my God. Thank you very much.
I need to rehome a dog. It's a small terrier and tends to bark a lot. If you're interested, let me know and I'll jump over my neighbor's fence and get it for you.
This is not right. These aren't good.
After venting to someone, do you ever think and just sit back and go, I should have kept that to myself? And I'll close with this one. When you're young and you drop something, you just pick it up. When you're older and you drop something, you stare at it for a while, wondering if you actually need it anymore.
All right.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
That's all for this hour, folks. Don't forget, when the Martians invade, there is only one race, the human race, and every one of us have different characteristics and is uniquely valuable. St. Louis In Tune is a production of Motif Media Group and the U.S. Radio Network. For St. Louis In Tune, co-host Mark Langston, I'm Arnold Stricker. Remember to walk worthy and let your light shine.